Welcome to the 7 critical decisions that all teens need to make. This introductory presentation by HeroPath for teens. See, by listening to this short presentation, it's less than 15 minutes long. It's going to retrain you as a parent regarding how to think about what's most important to ensure that your teenager has a great life, lives their dreams, and makes great decisions, fulfills their potential. Because all of us, when we were teenagers, had to make decisions that were going to impact our future. The difference is that the decisions that today's young people make leave less room for margin of error. The consequences are higher, whether it's the type of drugs that they're using, the risk of STDs. 1 in 5 teenagers today has contracted an STD, or just the fact that the world is changing so rapidly that whether or not they're actually prepared to enter the marketplace and be valued employees or able to contribute in commerce is going to come down very often to a few decisions they make at critical junctions in their life. So of the thousands of decisions they need to make, these are the 7 that are the most critical. Number 1 is, who are their friends going to be? Who are they going to associate with? Most teenagers do not realize the value and the impact of the company that they keep. Whether the people they associate with are people that bring them down and keep them small, or whether the people they associate with are people that bring them up and grow them into somebody who's much more of an expression of their fullest potential, the best that they can be. So who they choose to be their friends is a critical decision point in their life. The second one, because everybody at some point in their life is going to be seeking the approval of others, the question becomes, whose approval is going to matter to them? Whose opinions are going to matter to them? Once again, if they choose to take the approval and seek the approval of those who are going to bring them down, well, that's what's going to happen. But if they aim to live their life in a way that they gain the approval of those who will rise them up and take them further on their journey, well, it's going to make a huge difference in the success and the quality of their life. The next one, this is not an if, it's a when. It's what role will alcohol, drugs, and sex play in their lives? It's going to play a role. The question becomes, what role? And if they don't choose carefully, the consequences of this can be severe. 1 in 5 teenagers in the United States right now have an STD. The numbers of young people who are dealing with severe alcohol issues has gone up considerably in the last 25 years. So the question for them becomes, especially in this era of such a casual attitude around sex, is what role will they allow alcohol, drugs, and sex to play in their lives? And they must choose wisely and choose consciously. The next one, how are they going to handle the inevitable disappointments and setbacks in their life? Because they're going to have them. Are they going to choose when they have these disappointments to give up, give in, and go find people who they can whine and complain to, who will coddle them and agree with them about how tough life is? Or are they going to develop the character of resilience, the ability to step back up, to bounce back, to integrate the value of the lessons that can be learned in the midst of these disappointments and help them grow into more skilled, more adept, more prepared to be able to succeed in life? So how will they handle these disappointments and setbacks is a critical decision that teenagers need to make. The next one, as they go through challenges in their life and as they're making big decisions in their life, whose advice are they going to follow? See, the average teenager in the Western world now spends 5 times as much time with their peers as they do with adults, and yet turning to their peers for advice in critical situations when their peers have little to no more experience in these domains than they do is oftentimes not a very good idea. But to be able to go out and seek the advice of people who are wise, people who've been down the road, people who can give them what they need to hear, even though it may not necessarily be what they want to hear, is a critical decision that they may need to make. So whose advice will they follow? The next one, what career direction will they take? And this is not about what are you going to be when you grow up, but it's about choosing a direction to go in so that the accumulation of all the learning and experience that you have as you're moving in the direction of career is accumulation that leads to you growing into somebody who's developed a great level of skill and ultimately a level of mastery in a way that they contribute in the world and become invaluable no matter how much the world changes. This is a critical decision. What career direction will they take? And lastly, when? When are they going to begin to take their life seriously? When are they going to take their education seriously? When will they have that difficult talk with their friend that they need to have? When are they going to start being more disciplined? When will they take more responsibility for their life? When? This is a critical question, and it is a growing up question. And the decision they make about when they're going to begin to take action in the direction of growing into their potential is a critical one in their life. Welcome to HeroPath for Teens, this extraordinary program that helps teenagers and young adults not just recognize when they're at this juncture of these critical decisions, but also to help them to make the right decisions for themselves every time they're confronted with one of these 7 critical decision points in their life. My name is Jeffrey Lycan. I live in San Francisco, California, and I have over 25 years of experience as a mentor and counselor for teenagers and young adults. My focus is on working primarily with smart, sensitive, perceptive young people and helping them to find their way in the world, to live without compromise, to find the right direction, to find the right people and find their voice and grow into truly extraordinary people who lead extraordinary lives. My clients are spread across North America and Europe, and this coming year will be expanding across overseas as we're beginning to look to do programs in New Zealand, China, and Australia. This is Des Barry. Des Barry is my colleague with HeroPath, the co-creator of the HeroPath program, and is one of the people I'm most honored to have in my life. Des grew up in a small town in New Zealand. He grew up on a farm. It was so rural that he didn't even eat at a restaurant until he was 15 years old. When Des was a teenager, he was working in a factory part-time to make some money. And a coworker of hers came to him and said, I have a motorcycle that we want to sell. What had happened was his coworker's brother had been in a tragic accident on the bike, and the family wanted to get rid of it. And they came to Des and they said, do you want to buy this? We'll sell it to you for cheap. He scrapped together some money. He bought that motorcycle and got on that motorcycle, not knowing that decision to buy that motorcycle, the recognition that this was a direction to go in, was going to lead him eventually after university to leave his engineering practice, take that motorcycle, go travel around the world, move to England, and eventually become the British national champion and top 7 racer in the world. And Des's reputation is still out there 20 years after he stopped racing. See, what happened was when Des got married and had children, he put that bike away so that he could build his own engineering practice and live a lifestyle where he'd be home to be with his children. But he's still a weekend warrior on that bike, and he's a real inspiration and a phenomenal trainer for the HeroPath program, bringing real-life credibility. Like every trainer we have brings real-life credibility to the teenagers who attend our programs. So the 7 critical decisions. Who are they going to build their relationships with? What role will drugs play? Whose advice are they going to seek? Whose opinions will matter to them? What career direction will they go? How will they handle disappointment in their life? And when? These are the critical things that make HeroPath so effective, is because we train them to be able to make these excellent decisions when they're confronted with these. And how do we do this? Well, this is not a therapy program. This is not a feel-good woo-woo, write in your journal and cry about your hamster that got eaten by the puppy or whatever. This is a program that is offering an extraordinary skill set. We teach elite performance attention training based on the mythogenic self process by Dr. Joseph Riggio of Princeton, New Jersey, a man who's trained with elite level athletes and performers and developed this model to be able to train these people to perform absolutely at their best under pressure. And the skill set behind it is the learning where and how to focus your attention so that no matter what kind of challenges or situations you find yourself in, they're able to maintain their composure, perform at their best, be their most resourceful, and achieve excellence no matter what's going on in their life. And it's phenomenal because when young people learn this stuff, they say it's so practical. This is stuff unlike school. It's stuff we can actually use. Like when we train them how to attend to their instincts and intuitions, to notice the subtle signals inside themselves, in their bodies, as they enter into a room and have a sense that something isn't right. Or as they hear about an opportunity that to everybody else is insignificant, but they recognize, like Des did with that motorcycle, that it's something that they need to pursue with their life. And it's a different way. It's not ordinary. It's an extraordinary way of learning to live, which is to be so aware of the subtle signals that your body's receiving inside, that just noticing sometimes a twitch of a muscle when somebody approaches could be all the information they need to know to get away from that person. Or just noticing a certain charge that comes when they're hearing a person speak on a topic could be all they need to know to choose something which could become their path of career success. And lastly, what we teach them is how to live from a positive bias, how to organize their life around their strengths, their talents, their interests, how no matter what their challenges they're facing or disappointments they're facing in their life, to always ensure that they're sorting for possibilities and staying positive, eliminating the negative people and the negative thinking from their life, because it's only those who live from a positive bias who are able to produce results no matter what changes are happening in the world, or no matter what challenges they're facing. This stuff is so absolutely practical that when teenagers and young adults come in contact with it, it brings out the best in them. It brings them to life. It inspires them. See, when they get to these decision points and they make the right decisions, what ends up happening is they end up living these lives where they have tremendous confidence. They have success. They experience deep satisfaction. They find the right relationships and build great relationships with healthy, positive people. They live with great clarity. They find career direction. They live with more maturity, and they're happier people. And one of the other great benefits of it is that learning to operate this way saves them years of trial and error learning. I mean, just simply being able to know who the right people to get advice from can save them that kind of learning, let alone the subtleties of trusting their instincts and intuitions. This is the power of HeroPath. So what happens when they don't choose to go down the hero path? What happens when they make the wrong decisions? Well, listen, folks, I could be overly dramatic and say, if you don't send your teenager on this program, they're going to wind up looking like these kids right here. Well, let's face it. Every one of us, no matter how brilliant our children are, has moments where our kid gets this look. And sometimes the look they're going to get on the face is going to be because you didn't give them the flavor of ice cream that they want. So I'm not going to be so overly dramatic. What I will say is you're much more likely to see them looking like ordinary teenagers, ones who are bored, ones who can withdraw because they feel disconnected or overwhelmed by the world, the ones who are looking to just self-medicate with smoking or drugs or losing themselves in video games, because this is so commonplace in teenagers, especially in today's world where they feel so overwhelmed by the changes and the complexity of the world that they're stepping into. So when they get to these decision points and they get them wrong, what ends up happening is they experience frustration and stress. I can't tell you how many young people now are experiencing anxiety and anxiety disorders and being medicated and having trouble sleeping at night. They end up underachieving and they become followers, unable to make their own decision. They follow the crowd. They miss opportunities that sometimes are glaring right in front of them, but they just don't see them because they're not making the right decisions. And ultimately, and sadly in so many cases, they wind up settling for less and going through years of unnecessary, unneeded trial and error learning, that if they just learned to follow the hero path, to make the right decisions, they would be able to set themselves on a trajectory of great success. This is Charles. He was 14 years old when he first came in contact with the training that HeroPath offers. At that point in his life, he was doing poorly in school, he was selling drugs, and he was doing his best to just survive coming out of a difficult neighborhood. His father was struggling greatly in his life and really wasn't in his life in any helpful way. And Charles was this typical statistic in terms of the inner city urban youth. If you looked at the 7 critical decision points, every single one of them he was making around what it takes to survive. He wasn't making it around how do you live a life where you're really going to thrive. Well, he spent a year deeply immersed in the training of HeroPath, the training of how to make excellent decisions at these 7 critical decision points. This is Charles now, 12 years later. Charles is not only the first member of his family to hold a high school degree, he's also the first to have a college degree, a university degree, and he's also the first to hold a master's degree. He now works in law enforcement, is in a long-term relationship, lives an extremely healthy lifestyle, and is the kind of young man that any one of us as a parent would be proud to call our son. What changed his life? It was recognizing those 7 decision points and making different decisions. This is Amy. Amy came to a HeroPath program in England about 2 years ago. Amy was a high-achieving student. She had good friends. She was going places with her life. She easily got into all the universities that she applied to. She came to HeroPath hoping that it might offer her a little bit of something that would give her an edge. And what happened instead was she realized that at one of these critical decision points in her life, she was actually choosing to aim low. She wasn't aiming her highest. And it was in her athletic pursuits, which for her at that point is just a hobby. and probably will be for the remainder of her life, but it was a hobby nonetheless that she knew she was settling and not challenging herself and putting herself out there. The sport that she loved was ultimate frisbee. So she went out and tried out for her school team, and she made it. And then she started to play for a regional team, and she did really well there. And the coach there said, Amy, you have so much talent. If you would just put yourself all out there, you could potentially represent the United Kingdom for our national team. And 6 months later, Amy was representing the UK, playing in an international tournament. And when you read her testimonial and you hear what she has to say about it, she says, I was happy with my life. I was doing great. And it really wasn't until HeroPath came along that I realized that I was actually, even in my comfort of doing great, I was settling and not aiming for my best. And now I'm on a path to aiming to my best. Amy's now in university, and she's thriving in her life. And she's a typical story of what happens when teenagers get the training of HeroPath, when they learn to recognize these 7 critical decision points in their life and to make the right decisions. Who are they going to build relationships with? Whose opinions will matter to them? What career direction will they go? How are they going to handle disappointment in their life? What role will drugs, alcohol, and sex play in their life? Whose advice are they going to seek? And then ultimately answering the question, when? When is it time to take action? See, HeroPath is an extraordinary opportunity of training for teenagers and for young adults, and for parents like you who are interested in making sure that your children have every advantage they can possibly have. HeroPath is here for you. We offer trainings across North America, Europe, and this upcoming year in New Zealand and moving into Asia. To find out the schedule for upcoming HeroPath programs, visit heropathforteens.com/register. You'll see all the information that you need. And we look forward to the opportunity to train your teenage son or daughter to recognize the 7 critical decision points and to make excellent decisions in their life, and helping them to live a life that's not just a great life, but one that is truly extraordinary. Thank you for your time today. Really hope you found value in this.